Hi, welcome back to the Purpose Uprising podcast. It's been a minute. I'm so excited to be back with a very special episode. This is going to be a bit of a coaching session that you've probably needed for a while now. So if this is your first time tuning in to the Purpose Uprising podcast, hi, hello, it's so nice to meet you. My name is Jessica. I'm a purpose coach. I work with ambitious women and some men to connect deeper with their truth, to uncover what is the magic that their soul came to this world with, because very likely, if you are like most people, especially most high achievers out there, you are undervaluing and underusing your gifts, which is what leads to unfulfillment and burnout. And I'm on a mission to change that. So a little bit about me, you can tune into the episode where I tell a bit more about my story, but I'm about 1.5 years into going full-time in my coaching business, going through this big experiment of breaking up with corporate. And this is not a journey that I advocate for. It's not something that is going to be for everyone, but I needed to break up with the corporate grind to fully understand that I was addicted to it. And that I was heavily leaning on my job, on paychecks, on consistent promotions to anchor in my own self-worth. And as soon as I realized this, it took me years and very little directed self-reflection once I started working with a coach, which is also why I'm so passionate about coaching. When I realized that this was an inner thing and it had nothing to do with my job. So if this is sounding familiar or like anything that you've experienced, I just want you to know that you're not alone. You're not broken. If you're feeling frustrated or bored, or if you have that familiar sense of, okay, everything is going my way, my life looks great on paper, why am I not more grateful? Why am I not satisfied? You're not broken. You're just waking up. And that is likely your soul, that beautiful thing that is telling you that you are out of alignment. And so we're going to go into that. But today's episode, and first of all, if you're watching this on video, you're going to notice that this is a bit of a weird background. I'm in my childhood bedroom. So the podcast took a bit of a break because I was realizing that I was giving to a lot of different channels, mediums, people, activities, and projects from a place of wanting, from a place of lack, from a place of needing to prove myself. And thankfully, I'm obsessed with every single podcast episode that I have recorded. But I was putting just a very high stressful standard on myself. And now I'm realizing you want me to just show up and be a human. Now that I can do. So this episode is specifically for you because you have a beautiful vision on your heart, something that you see in glimmers in your daydreams, something that if you journal on a regular basis you've probably written about several times. And in a corporate setting, especially if you're in sales, you're in marketing, you as a high achiever are a hustler. And you are very likely in resistance to the truth that thing you want to do, whether it's going off and starting your own consulting business or writing a book or building a personal brand or maybe even starting a podcast, you don't need more experience. You do not need more experience. You don't need certifications, and you definitely do not need more time. This is simply a belief that needs to be shifted within you. And this is the coaching session that you didn't even know you needed. And I'm really excited to share this with you because you have an incredibly unique gift and you have magic that your soul came here to share with the world. And so my hope is that after listening to this episode, you're going to have the fire under your ass to go collapse time, do the thing, do one thing today that moves you, that moves the needle and moves you closer to the goal. Because I'm going to tell you right now, having a podcast is something that I wanted to do and I didn't think I would do for another 5 years. It was always like, yeah, it would be so cool to have a podcast. I'll do one day, I'm sure. One day? If the desire and the dream is in you and you can't quite explain it, those are the ones that you need to pay attention to. They are not there by accident. Nothing is by accident. But as a society, we spend a lot of time, especially as ambitious, high-achieving women in the corporate world. We spend a lot of time in our heads, in our minds, in our left brain. And there's absolutely a time and a place for that. But like any duality in life, that requires a balance with being in the state of surrender and receival and trust. So let's move in to this coaching session that you didn't even really know you needed. I'm really excited for this. This was inspired as I was on the plane traveling here, and it's something that is so alive in my world right now with a lot of my clients. And this was exactly what I experienced when I was still in my corporate 9 to 5. I knew that I didn't want to work in a 9 to 5 job forever. And so I would often imagine and think about, what does my ideal future look like? What does the dream career look like? Because I wanted to be able to put the, foundational blocks in place to ensure that I was moving toward that goal in some way. And I always had this big idea of being an executive coach and being a leadership coach and a consultant, and somehow fusing my meditation, yoga, and mindfulness practice into that. And I remember I was actually reading a past journal of mine recently. Honestly, a lot of my teachings and what I share come from like past versions of me and what I was working through, living through. And that's why I love journaling, because I have all of this evidence of my path and my journey. So if you're not a big journaler, that is just one more reason to try. And so I was reading an old journal of mine, and I was specifically in my 9 to 5 at this point. This was 2 years ago, around February, so February 2023. And I was exhausted. I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't enjoying my job. It was easy. I was doing really well. I was checking all of the boxes, making great money, and on a supposed path to advanced leadership. At the time, I was a senior manager on a sales development team. And I would journal every single morning. First thing in the morning, I would write my morning pages. I would wake up at the crack of dawn, and I would write for 45 minutes, stream of consciousness. And then I would close my notebook and I would go to work. And in hindsight, it was like this gradual expansion was happening, but I was relegating it to those moments where I would allow myself to journal or to sit in meditation or to paint or whatever. And so this is what I wrote. I don't have it in front of me right now because it is back home, but I remember specifically what I wrote. It was a sentence that went like this: living on the beach, doing yoga every day, coaching full time. That's the dream. And when I read that passage 2 years from writing it, my heart skipped a beat, because that's exactly what I'm doing. Now, I don't live by a beach, but I have been to a lot of beachy locales this year, and that is still something that I hold as a beautiful possibility to look forward to in the future. But I am coaching full time. I did my yoga teacher certification. I am doing yoga on the daily with a much deeper personal connection to my practice. And I really gave myself a moment to sit in awe and gratitude that I knew what I wanted, even though I didn't think I knew what I wanted. There I was journaling about this dream. But you know what I did that day? I could tell because I could see the date. It was a weekday. It was probably a Wednesday. I would have closed the journal and gone straight back to work and continued to be in lack of why? Why am I not happy? Why am I not satisfied? What can I shift in my current job to like make me happy, where I can feel like I'm progressing and I can feel challenged, because I was so bored. And I just didn't know. I didn't know that I was holding the seeds. I had planted the seeds actually, and that I just needed to be patient. In fact, had I known more of what I know now, which, I'm on my path and my journey, so everything worked out exactly as it was meant to, but I would have come to this realization so much sooner. And so, you, my friend, have a gift. You have something so unique inside of you that's waiting to bust through in the most creative, expansive ways, but you're not letting it. Just like me journaling my truth and then shutting it away and thinking that's not realistic. That's going to be like 10 years down the line, maybe eventually, but right now I've got to keep my head down. That wasn't me being completely ignorant. I still thought it was possible, but I was in resistance to the idea that it could happen for me right now and that I could collapse time. So it is very likely that you are in resistance to the very thing that could make you the happiest, richest, most fulfilled, most abundant, and impactful version of you. And let's be real, like real and raw for a second. Your soul did not come to this earth to slave away behind a laptop for 50 hours a week, or 45, or 60, whatever. And your soul did not come here to subscribe to some 9-to-5 routine that was born out of an industrial revolution in the 1920s, when Henry Ford said, in order to get the most efficiency out of our workers, let's pare the work week back from 7 days a week to 5 days a week. We see this point of diminishing returns. Let's make them work 8 hours a day with 30 minutes of lunch and give them the weekend so that they can come back with the energy and the motivation to up our production numbers. That is where the 9-to-5 was born from. You are not here to be a robot. So stop acting like one. Because the truth is, we're now in a whole different market economy and industry. You know, what really, really bothers me, something that I've heard so many people say, especially in the last year and a half since starting my business, and I've been having so many interesting conversations with people from all walks of life. And when people say, you shouldn't make money doing what you love, because then what you love will start to feel like work. Or often, whenever I meet someone new, I am really conscious of not asking someone what they do as the first question, because I'm very aware that we live in a world that over-identifies with what we do for work. And I think that's completely backwards. And so I invite you to be aware of that. If I were to ask you, like, tell me a bit more about you. I want to learn more about you. Would you start, be honest, would you start by what you do for work? So instead of asking someone what they do, I'll ask them, what are you loving these days? What's making you feel alive these days? And a lot of people are really taken aback by that question because they're not used to being known or seen as a human. They're used to being seen as an asset. And inevitably, in their answer, they end up telling me what they do for work. And when they do, my intuitive follow-up question is almost always, do you love it? Do you love what you do for work? And it is shocking how many times I've heard the exact same answer. Like, I'll hear it and I kind of have to like shake my head. Like, I can't believe I just heard the exact same turn of phrase, the same words. And it goes something like this. Well, who really loves their work anyway? People have this prevailing belief that work cannot be enjoyable, which is one thing, but really the underlying belief is that I can't make money doing the things that come most easily to me. I can't make money when I'm having fun. That's actually the core belief. And then, of course, the root goes deeper. And it makes sense, right? Like, I want to be so frustrated about this. Like, who told you that? Where did this belief come from? And why do so many people believe this? But it makes complete sense from a capitalistic perspective. Systems thrive on people playing small, accepting grunt work, and not seeking greater meaning in their lives. That is conducive to someone staying in a defined role and working their ass off for KPIs. Again, not what your soul came here for. Because in reality, it doesn't actually make sense when you really stop and think about it. Even when I was a manager on a sales development team, okay, I was managing 8 SDRs, 8 very different humans. And this was a startup environment, although advanced startup in the sense that we had processes in place, we had A/B testing, so we weren't just like pure chaotic startup mode, okay? And I, as an intuitive people manager, was always tuned in to how every single person on my team worked very differently and had an entirely unique skill set. One person might be very intuitive at understanding what the ideal customer profile desires and wants and needs. So they had like an expertise in the ICP. Amazing. Another person would be very tech savvy and like have the tech stack on lock and know how to use HubSpot and Outreach and whatever tools we were using to gather phone numbers and emails and Sales Navigator and all of it. And they had like all of these efficiencies and they were coming up with different workflows and sharing it with the team all the time. Another person was exceptional at writing conversion-based emails. They were quick, they were to the point, there was a lot of white space, they were awesome. And then another person was really good at A/B testing. Now, a lot of managers and leaders, from my observation, would take each SDR aside and try to mold them so that they were good at all of these things. And I personally think that that's a silly and inefficient approach, and I despise inefficiencies. So I would play to each SDR's strengths, where each of them brought their magic to the table. And then when we came together as a group, everyone shared their learnings, and we were always the top performing team. So the point I'm trying to make is that you are not here to necessarily work on your weaknesses. Yes, there's value in learning new things, and there's always value in honing and refining your skill set. But are you putting that same attention and level of focus and energy into your gifts? And here's where most people get this backwards. They think that things that come easily to them are not inherently valuable, because we have a prevailing, deeply seated, limiting belief that we pick up in childhood, that success needs to be earned and that it's conditional upon performance, that we need to work really, really hard. We were never really rewarded for just being ourselves, right? If you were a little kid and following your creative urges and you took a marker and you started drawing on the wall and you excitedly shared it with your parents, look at this masterpiece, and what do you get? You get in a lot of trouble, right? Just one example of how a kid is extremely impressionable. They're not going to think they're getting in trouble because they screwed up a paint job. They're going to think they're in trouble that it was not safe for them to follow their creative urges. So subconsciously, we pick these things up in childhood where we're basically told it's not safe to be authentically you. So the things that come easily to you are not only not safe, but how could you make money? I'm willing to bet a whole lot of money that you have a skill set, you have expertise and experience that a company, many individuals, maybe even an industry would not only be willing to pay you for, but they'd be willing to pay a premium right now, right this moment. No, you don't need another promotion. No, you don't need a different title on your LinkedIn page. And no, you definitely don't need more experience. Do not get it twisted. There are people, several people in this world right now, doing the thing that you wish you were doing. That desire that we talked about earlier that's on your heart, there is someone doing that, making a lot of money doing it, who is less talented and less experienced than you. Do not get it twisted. The only thing that separates that person living your dream and you is incredibly simple. And this is going to blow your mind because it is staring you in the face. That person decided. This is the one thing that separates them from you if you haven't done the thing and you've put your dream into some far off future on a timeline for God knows why. The one thing separating you is one decision. That person living your dream decided that they are worthy and they took messy action. I am begging you right here, right now, to decide that you are worthy. You are worthy of everything that you desire. And we're not talking about material things. I'm not saying you are worthy of a Balenciaga bag. You are worthy of a pair of Louboutin heels. I mean, yeah, sure, of course, whatever. But life isn't about that. It's not about the designer bag. It's not about the dream house. It's not about the car. At the end of the day, it's about how those things make you feel. That's why you desire them. So if you haven't clocked what you desire at a deeper level, whether you're dreaming of a career pivot, maybe you've been, dating a particular type of character and you're ready to break a cycle and attract the perfect relationship. This applies to literally everything. Decide that you are worthy. Everything that you have in life right now, you are always going to receive what you are willing to tolerate. So this is your moment to redefine what you are willing and no longer willing to tolerate. This is where I like to focus on new minimum standards. This is the type of work that I do with my clients all the time. We go into what is the thing you desire to shift? What are you currently believing about it? Often the worthiness wound comes into play. And what do you desire to believe about it? What is the new minimum standard? And I'll give you a little hack on how to create new minimum standards, because if I was given all of this information, I'd be like, new minimum standard. I'd be like Googling new minimum standard. Okay, no, we're going to make this really simple for you. So you want to write down a new minimum standard as though it has already happened. This is very much like writing affirmations, right? So I am now no longer willing to tolerate. And then write it down. The alternative, which I find is very powerful, and sometimes it's helpful to do that first. I am now no longer willing to tolerate XYZ. For example, relationships that drain me. Jobs where I am undervalued and underpaid. I am now no longer willing to tolerate self-deprecating thoughts and self-doubt. I'm now no longer willing to tolerate negative energy in my relationships. Just a few examples, right? Now, taking it a step further, and some people will be able to go straight to this step, which is I am now so happy and grateful. So I am so happy and grateful to have a job where I feel so valued and where I am paid what I truly believe is my worth. Or I am now so happy and grateful that my relationships are nourishing and allow me to be the best version of me in every way. I'm now so happy and grateful to be on a career path where I feel like I'm having an impact as who I am, using my authentic gifts. I am so happy and grateful to be in the energy of ease. It could be that simple. So, what are your new minimum standards when it comes to the one thing that you are struggling to shift right now? Because I'm telling you right now, you do not need more experience. You could go and sell to a high-ticket client, be that a business or a person, who would want your guidance, your mentorship, your consulting right the fuck now. Right now. And track, how does that feel in your body? Do you actually feel resistance when I say that? Or do you feel excited? And if you feel resistance, know that that is totally normal. And if you feel excited, use that momentum right now. Pause this podcast and go do one thing right now. Use that energy. And if you're feeling resistance, this is where you get to go and connect with the resistance. Where does it live in your body? What story might it be connected to? All it takes is one decision, one monumental pattern interrupt. And truly, it is to decide that you are worthy. There's a lot of people in this community who will know a little bit about human design. No worries if you don't. It is an incredible tool and framework to understand how your energy is meant to move. It's your unique energetic blueprint. You may be part of the world, part of 30% of the world who doesn't have the worthiness wound. So there's an energy center inside of your human design chart. It's the heart, the ego center. So the heart and ego center. And if it is undefined, so in your chart, it would not be colored in, then that's where you're actually prone to taking in stories from your environment, amplifying them. So in other words, you're prone to conditioning. You're prone to making up stories to make sense of the world in the context of that energetic center. And so I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough is like 70% of the population has an undefined heart center and has this worthiness wound. So you might be part of the 30% who doesn't have the worthiness wound, and that's freaking amazing for you. You, my friend, you just need to decide that you can't lose. You just need to decide simply right now that you cannot lose and go do the thing. For the rest of us, we need to do a little bit more work, because something that I want you to walk away with is a lesson that everything is always working out for you. And this is 100% truth. We could have a very healthy debate about this. Everything is always working out for you and your highest good. Okay, so we need to start seeing solutions where you are currently seeing problems. Let's go through a couple examples. Problem number 1, I hate my job. Okay, amazing. The gift could be, let me start networking and doing the inner work to understand my bigger why while I have the security of a steady paycheck. Bam, boom. Total perspective shift. All of a sudden, something that you see as a problem that's been dragging you down becomes an asset, becomes in service to your higher vision. Problem number 2, money is tight. Money's tight. I don't know if I can afford this or if I'm worth this. Is it really worth this? Okay, the gift. Let me access the tools required to shift my beliefs around money and attract more ease. Because money, my friend, is energy. So if you have scarcity mindset or blocks around money, that is a beautiful opportunity. There are so many resources out there to heal money wounds and to heal the energy blocks that are keeping you in resistance to receiving more of it. That is the gift. All right, problem number 3. I keep dating fuckboys. The gift. Let me look at my relationships with myself and define new minimum standards for my relationships so that I can become available to the relationships that are meant for me. Whatever challenge or cycle you are in right now, there is a lesson waiting to be integrated to bring you into your next level and chapter. Okay? And the biggest opportunity most ambitious, career-driven women are missing is owning their revenue. Yes, it's owning their power. But what I'm seeing is so many women who have incredible gifts. Their zone of genius is honed in, but they're allowing themselves to remain complacent and comfortable in the golden handcuff situation where they're making great money, so they don't have any reason to go and to challenge themselves and to experiment with their edges. You know, the truth is most people are willing to submit to the illusion of safety in a corporate paycheck, right? But the reality is you don't own that paycheck, your company does. So any safety or certainty really is an illusion, because if you can't control it, It's not, you can't control the safety. This brings me back to one big reminder. And we started the top of this episode with this reminder that you have a gift, something that comes so naturally to you, that is waiting to be monetized, that wants to be making money for you. And before you tell me, oh, the state of the economy is so uncertain right now, yeah, it is. Which is why you need to own at least one of your revenue streams. What's stopping you from writing the book, from starting the podcast, from reaching out to potential clients and starting to consult on the side, from getting a coaching certification if that's what you want to do, from starting your side gig? For today, I want you to remember that vision that's on your heart, that is not there by accident. That is no coincidence. And you are here, your soul came to this lifetime to do some pretty extraordinary shit. Our purpose is basically to be joyful, abundant humans. And what brings me joy is going to be very different from what brings you joy. And that's beautiful. None of us are here to live the same life. That would be so boring. And yet, that is the archetype and the stereotype that is reinforced in the corporate world. There's beauty and so much to be gleaned and learned and taken from a 9-to-5 corporate setting. I'm not here to be anti-corporate or anti-9-to-5. Absolutely not. But I do think that too many people are hiding their authentic self and diminishing their power because the corporate 9-to-5 happens to be a very easy hiding place. I think people do need to defect a little bit more. People do need to be willing to make mistakes, and they do need to be willing to own their careers. I'm looking left, right, and center at companies doing massive layoffs, but when you're anchored in your gift and you know who you are, you know your purpose, and you know your role in this world, you are basically unlayoffable because you know exactly how to add value. And when you know how to monetize it, that becomes a pretty magical superpower. And so I would be remiss if I didn't mention the newest container in my coaching world. So I'm really excited to share this with you. I launched this a few days ago. If you follow me on Instagram or you're on my email list, you're always going to get these announcements when they first come out. So make sure to sign up for my newsletter. I'll drop the link in the show notes. And when you sign up for my newsletter, you get access to my free guided meditation to connect you with your purpose. This is a 2-day intensive. It's called Cash Flow and Confidence. And I built it specifically for the woman in corporate who knows that the 9-to-5 is not for her in the long run. She might not be planning on making the big leap right now, but you know that it's not for you forever. And the one thing I wish I had done when I was in my 9-to-5 was start laying the foundation for my business. It would have given me so much more comfort and just a launching pad to really launch from. And so that's why I built this container, to give you the mindset and the blueprint. So I'll give you the framework. You're going to take it and you're going to turn it into something that is unique to you, where you have the game plan. You know how to magnetize your first paying client, or you know how to attract the dream job if that's what you're looking to pivot into. But this is for the woman who is ready to no longer lean on a corporate paycheck and who wants to start owning her revenue and owning her earning potential. So whether it's you starting your side gig, potentially going full time in the consulting gig or the coaching business that maybe has been on your heart, this is for both. It's a 2-day intensive happening at the end of March. This is going to be so valuable. This is where things are getting spicy. The price is going up every single day between now and when we go live. So the price is going up to $888. This is a high proximity container. It's live. You're getting access to me. There's going to be several modules, community support. And so it's not just like a course that I'm going to give you where you're going to self-pace, because that doesn't work. There's no embodiment. There's no accountability. And so I want this to be a no-brainer for you. Don't even think about the price. You can drop the word Purpose Uprising. Send me an email to jessica@jessica'okane.com with the subject line Cash Flow and Confidence. And if you drop Purpose Uprising, I'll know that you listened to this episode, and I'm going to honor the $240 rate for you for the next week. Okay, so that's locking in the current rate, which price is going up at midnight for the general public. So if you want to lock this in and get a 600 and whatever discount, the point is it shouldn't be about the money. This is about you taking the first aligned step. This is the needle mover that you need. So I'm really excited for this. If this is something that is speaking to you, you can email me directly. And as always, if you found value in this episode, please take a moment to leave a comment on this episode. I love reading the comments and I love knowing that this is reaching the right people, like the people that are actually getting this magic, that are downloading and going and doing amazing things in this world. Know that I love you, I believe in you, and you are here for a reason. Okay, I will see you again soon.